Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is the top dog there. I don't think we have to worry about him making the squad or being the QB1. Gardner Minshew, QB2, to come in and replace Carson Wentz. And we got Bailey Zappi and Chris Oladokun. And so, JD, we look at the QB room. I guess in years past, we had Carson Wentz, and before that, Blaine Gabbert, and then Chad Henne, and then Matt Moore for a little bit. It seems that Gardner Minshew is a veteran quarterback, a veteran starting quarterback in the league, but however, the other guys, Chad Henne and Blaine Gabbert, were more seasoned guys. They've been around longer. So this is probably one of the probably more of the younger-ish backups that we've had in the Mahomes era.
Yeah. Interesting guy, though. He's an interesting backup. I think he's a very capable guy. I like Gardner Minshew, especially when he has weapons around him. He'll get the ball to the guys he needs to in the hands. He's won some games. But you're right. I like Minshew's style. He'll fit right in where it needs to be. And so I think he brings his personality out. Everybody's going to love it. They are. They're going to love, obviously the hair and the mustache. And that's just who Gardner is, right? So I think with him being Pat's backup, I don't think we have any problem worrying about, who's going to be, if something happens to Pat, something does happen. Gardner Minshew is a capable quarterback to win games for sure.
Yeah, and also, too, I think his skill set's very interesting because, obviously we wanted somewhat of that air raid kind of quarterback. When Mahomes came out, they kind of, Andy kind of, adapted the air raid style to his style a little bit. And Minshew actually talked about when he came out for the draft that year he did, that the Chiefs were one of the teams interested. He said he actually ended up leaving the building thinking that was a team that he was going to end up going to, which is pretty interesting.
Really?
Many years later, they end up signing him. So obviously they have a type there, and the kind of style that we play in Minshew's interview, which we'll play in a second here, he kind of talks about how all these guys come from an air raid background, which I think is really interesting about the entire QB room. So we're kind of going through this kind of air raid model, I would say, JD, that we kind of like that skill set. But yeah, Minshew did talk about a lot of things, which we'll show right now. Here, let me go to this real fast. So this is Gardner Minshew on his fit Kansas City.
The draft, I remember visiting here and how strongly and how good I felt leaving here with Coach Reed and the staff in place and just the offense and everything that they were doing. So I think it's been on my radar for a long time, and it just worked out timing this year. And just couldn't be more grateful again and just excited for the opportunity. It's crazy watching him every day. It's been really cool watching how he prepares, how he takes notes, how he approaches practice, how he has fun, with football. There's so much that he does at the highest, best level that it's just really cool to be around and, super grateful. I mean, it's easy to see all the, highlight plays, the, big throws and stuff. And obviously you see that every day on the practice field. It's really cool. But seeing how he prepares, I think that's one of the things that I really wanted to come here and see is how does he prepare? Not only, in the building, how does he get his body right? How does he train? There's I think he does everything at the elite, highest level. And there's just so much to take from that. I think there's just so much to learn. I mean, obviously they do things the right way here, and that's what you just want to be a part of that. You want to hope that you can take things from that, soak it up, but honestly, I'm not looking past anything but this year, trying to help in any way I can. I know that, you have a good season, a part of something special. There's things that stick with you from that serve you well. All four of the quarterbacks in the room have, air raid experience. So it's funny, we'll all kind of, this is just, Ace-6 or Ace-95, old air raid terms. So it's cool to kind of, we all have that background and see it a little bit through that lens. And it's cool to see. I think everybody in the room has been influenced a lot in that way and how we see the game, space, numbers, leverage, that kind of simple style of ball. I think Pat's taken that to the highest and just most successful level, pretty much.
So JD, I kind of going back to the whole veteran thing. Before we had older guys who could kind of I guess mentor Pat in a way, where it seems like now it's kind of a different shift where guys like Minshew is coming into the Chiefs building to kind of see what he can learn from Patrick Mahomes. It's kind of interesting. When I was going through his presser, I was like, wow, it's interesting. It's kind of 360 to what it used to be when he used to bring in vets. Now we have guys who, talented guys. I think Minshew's a talented quarterback. He's shown that, but he's coming in to try to help if he can, where he can help, but also he's trying to learn what he can from Pat. So when he does go after this 1-year deal, he can go elsewhere and try to take what he's learned from Pat and try to win a starting job somewhere. And I think that's very interesting that we kind of have gone that way with our backup quarterback.
Yeah, well, I say this, Marcus. I would even say the vets that was in the room with Pat was still trying to figure him out. I think they also were trying to learn from Pat as well. And a lot of it is when you analyze your peers, okay, and you watch a guy's greatness, something that has never been done before, right? And these guys, the quarterbacks have been here, who's watched this young guy come in and all he's done is win games. They wanted to know what his, what is his regimen? What is he doing? How does he prepare himself? Like Gardner says, like, is this just all hype? Is it just talent alone? Or is it the hard work that's put into it as well? And so I think what he done is he's proven himself to, the older quarterbacks and somebody like Gardner Minshew who's coming in. And it is like, yeah, he's the real deal. He takes everything at elite level, and he does everything to keep being great. And sometimes, man, those things like that he's displaying is just is in you, and you develop it. And so that drive that he has, it's almost like it's an obsession. It's an obsession. And that's what guys understand when you start seeing a guy who wants to be great, who doesn't want to fail, who don't want to let his teams down, but also, too, loves what he's doing. He loves the preparation. He loves taking the notes. He loves the little thing. He loves talking about the leverage. He said Pat's taking it to a whole different level. And so what Gardner's doing is like, man, I see, what Pat is seeing. He's opened up his whole eyes into maybe some of the things that he hasn't quite seen on his journey. And he's been to places to see that, obviously Jacksonville and Indianapolis and the Raiders, these guys hadn't really been winning. And he knows. He's like, man, look, they do it right here, okay? The way they not just prepare, but also the coaches being on the same page as far as like trying to get the guys the information they need to do to succeed. So I thought that was very interesting, him, kind of breaking everything down, because what he's doing is he's taking a deep dive and analyzing everything on far as how this team does it as far as winning. And it's a culture. It really is. It's a mindset. It's preparation. All those things matter to get you to where you need to be. And so Patrick Mahomes is just another thing, the cherry on top, that keeps this engine going. And so I think, like you said, man, it's a sight to see. Carson Wentz said the same thing last year, right? So, you know what's done too, Marcus? I guarantee it's driving him to become better. I mean, when you're around greatness, that's what you want to do, right? You'll become great too.
And I'll say this. I mean, Minshew, obviously he's not the talent Patrick Mahomes is, but if you watch some of his games when he was in Jacksonville, even when he was in Indianapolis, he's still, I mean, he does some stuff that you don't see a lot of quarterbacks do. He takes chances. Obviously not as skilled as Patrick Mahomes, but he does do some things like, man, like, okay, all right, Minshew, all right. I remember that Jacksonville year, the Minshew Mania stuff. He was doing some things like, whoa, okay, he's doing some. He's got a little Mahomes in him, kind of stuff. But like, I remember people would say stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, he took chances. I mean, it's definitely a fun skill set for Andy to have as a backup to Patrick Mahomes. For the Week 18 games, for God forbid anything ever happens to Patrick Mahomes, you have a guy who is a talented enough quarterback.
Yeah, and him understanding the standard. That maybe what he'll do now in watching Pat, maybe some of the things that he's in his preparation, he may not be willing to take those chances. He might, okay, I see the mindset on some of the things that we need to do differently, okay, for him. Look, he's a 6th round pick. When he was down in Jacksonville, he's like, screw it. I ain't got really nothing to lose. I got to go out there and play balls out. And just, I'm trying to get my name out there, and he did. And so he did a lot of heroics back there at quarterback to try to, obviously keep the starting position. And so he was successful. That's why he's able to go to different teams, because people was wondering, okay, we'll go to Minshew. Got a little bit of that gunslinger in it, right? He's got a little bit of that maverick somewhat, right? To do some things a little bit different. So he's coming into the ultimate maverick is what he's done, okay? He's watching Tom Cruise, man, and Top Gun get at it, all right? Without all the demerits and motions. So, wow, this is good. This is good. So, I'm glad Gardner Minshew was here. I really am. So
he also said in the interview, because I think his first game action in the NFL was against the Chiefs. And they said, "Did you talk to Pat after the game?" He goes, "Yeah, I talked to him. He sought me out. And I played well." And I was like, "Oh, like Patrick Mahomes talked to me." That was funny.
yeah.
But the air raid aspect is an interesting thing that he made mention that all quarterbacks in the room have air raid backgrounds. They're all making comments to each other, like the different vocabulary and the terminology they have. And I think it's very interesting. Where like that's because there's a long time there, JD, where teams were going ahead and skipping the air raid quarterbacks. They didn't want those type of quarterbacks in their room with them. If there was taking a chance on them. I remember Case Keenum broke all the records from an air raid offense in Houston, and he may have been undrafted, like a 7th round pick, but teams were scared away from that. And now we're talking where like the entire quarterback room, Andy's quarterback room, are all air raid quarterbacks. What does that mean to you that we're all kind of going for that same, that we're recruiting and drafting and signing guys who are all that same, come from that same cloth?
The system in itself, a lot of coaches didn't think that it translated well into the NFL. Because you got a lot of jargon that goes into now, like these systems, obviously from some coaches. And so when you have to learn all the different places where everybody goes, can become a little bit difficult, a little wordy to some quarterbacks. But for an air raid guy, he's sitting over saying, like he said, H9, or this is like, simple, like things what everybody does. Okay. And it's like concepts that you run as well. So a lot of the RPO goes into that. It kind of marries those things and those styles. But what Andy likes about it is because air raid offenses get the balls out of hand fast. That's what he does. That's why we are one of the teams that we don't push the ball down the field as much. We look for the kind of short intermediate passes that is really kind of devastating to teams. They just had to make sure they get the ball out to the right person and let them go and the wide receivers or tight ends, let them go make their money after getting the ball in the hand. And so if you understand that, and Andy says, like, yeah, I like that. I like guys that understand, get the ball out of your hands, what you're looking at defensively, and exploit it. Okay. And so air raid offense, man, they're gonna pressure you offensively. They're gonna get guys down the field. They're gonna open it up and they're gonna throw the football. And so that's what the Chiefs do. That's what Andy likes. He loves those guys. But like I said before, what Andy does is he mixes in a lot of different offenses, and obviously his time, kind of up in Philly to where he is now. He had Green Bay with Mitch Holmgren and all those guys. That tree goes from Bill Walsh to like I said, Holmgren. There's a lot of guys that's locked onto that tree. Andy has had a little different vision on what he wants to do. But he understands and appreciates those guys that's in the air raid offense. So,
yeah, it's become like an air raid fusion offense, right? Where you're gonna mix a little bit of everything, but with air raid concepts, and also too, like just having all those guys in that room with each other, especially the younger guys like Aladaquan, Billy Zappi. You have all guys who speak that language, right? It's like they all of them speak that language, right? It's like a thing that they can all speak to each other. And I think that's kind of cool, where they can all say, "Yo, it's just like blah blah blah," and then they'll say that, "Oh, gotcha," and so I do love that from a coaching and teaching standpoint as well for all those quarterbacks.
Yeah, because it's easy to relate to. Like, oh, okay, I got it. Oh, I got you. Okay, what is 322? All it is West Coast wide stick, wide stick or flat, right? Oh, what is all go special? It's just $9.99, and you could call it all these different things, Why 2 banana? What is that? It's like, shoot, it's $2.78, F flat. So it's all related. So, and that's the thing about it. Guys, like you said, it's a fusion. You could change things up the way you do it and when you call particular plays. I think Andy, without a doubt, is a genius at what he does. All we need Andy to do now is run the football a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Okay, because we got the weapons to throw the ball down the field, and we need to exploit that too. So, and we're going to see a whole lot of that. Believe me, we're going to see a whole lot of that. And that's what Pat talked about. Pat said that. So y'all get ready. Get your popcorn.
Run the football. I don't know. Mike Leach, quick screens and quick outs where they was running the football with the Mike Leach air raid, JD. And that's why it's a fusion.
Yeah.
I want to point out this. So we talked about, we had Chad Henne, we had Blaine Gabbert, and then we signed Gardner Minshew. And the one thing that commonality is these are all former Jacksonville Jaguar quarterbacks. And it's like, whoa. My connection here is Chad Henne, 2-time Super Bowl champ. Blaine Gabbert, a 1-time Super Bowl champ with Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have Gardner Minshew. And the connection here is every time we have a Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback as a backup, rings come.
No.
Super Bowls come. So Gardner Minshew bringing back that great Jacksonville Jaguar juju that we have that we love here in Kansas City. But yeah, I thought it was funny that it's another quarterback that we've brought in outside of Wentz and Matt Moore, but mainly we've had Jacksonville Jaguar quarterbacks during our Super Bowl winning seasons, and now we have another one there. So I thought that was interesting. We go right back to the Jacksonville Jaguar well, JD, for backup quarterbacks.
Hey man, let's keep this thing going then. If that looks like it's in the cards on that, let's keep this thing going. So I think it works in our favor. So good. So all them jokers came from a bad organization and came to a winning organization. So, yeah, those guys are very excited to be here. This is why I said that.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.